couple messages for the viewers, so pick a section, have a seat. Yeah, I know this is different. Quit with the questions. Allow me a second, please, to make my first impression.
All right, for those who watched the live video, this is where we left off. We're gonna make Monster Venom. I need to open this. I'm gonna keep this figure anyway. I don't need this box. All I need is his head. So you need this head. What you want to do is here. See this seam here? You want to break it apart. Just fold it. You don't even need to heat it up if you don't want to. But it's better to heat it up. Alright guys, I'm gonna commentate and co-pilot from here. What you gotta do is heat it up so it can be a lot softer, and then pull away from the jaw to the top of the head, and you can take the jaw down. Here is the tongue that's also connected to the top of the mouth, the roof of the mouth. You peel that off once warm enough, and it just peels away like that. It's not hard. It's glued on, but it's not hard once you heat it up. Then you want to find out where to connect it. So the idea is to just figure out where to sit the top to the bottom, and find a good place where you get to line up the teeth. So when you have it front and center, the teeth line up. You don't have a sideways jaw. So the idea is just try to get it as straight as you can. It would be cool if someone can put a hinge on here. I know Brock, shout out to Life with Brock, he's good at putting hinges on feet. So if he could figure out a way to put a hinge in this mouth, that would be awesome. I'm not going to put a hinge on it. I can't, so I have to sculpt it. But before you sculpt it and glue it closed, you have a lot of excess plastic you're going to have to cut first in the back. So right about, bam, is where we're going to sit it. And you see it sits perfect. It even rocks. And all that plastic in the back, we're going to cut out, because it's going to hinder when it sits on the head. So let's cut that out. Oh wait, there's more. You see these jaw lines on the side? They're too big. Because his mouth is open wide, we have to cut those out. I did that with the Venom here. And so we have to slice away at those jaw bones. Kids, do not play with an X-Acto knife. This thing is incredibly sharp. It will cut you. So ask a parent to help you out. Please don't pick this up. But if you're old enough and you have one of these, it'd be extremely helpful and useful to cut around the edges of the jaw and the back of the head to get rid of all that extra plastic. And me, it's like, I don't know if you remember those old QVC commercials about those sharp knives, and it's like, you can fillet a fillet. That's what I feel like. I'm just filleting a bit of plastic here and just going along with the edge. I'm not working hard. If you have to work hard with your X-Acto knife, it's probably good to get a fresh blade. A new sharp blade is always good. And you just cut off as much plastic as you can. I'm going to save you guys all the time while I cut off the plastic. This is all the plastic taken off just from the back of the head and the jaw, the side of the jaw. And mind you, some of the pieces are pretty thick, so you will need to take a lot of that off. Some things you'll need is crazy glue to attach the head. And then once you do that, you're going to need some sculpt. I like to use Abs Epoxy. I've tried JB Weld before, and that was okay, but Abs Epoxy hasn't let me down since I've tried it. You need a scale. You don't need a scale, but I like to use a scale just to get exact equal amounts, because you'll have to mix A and B to get a nice combination of sculpt. I'll explain that later on. Remember where you want to sit the head so the jaw lines up, the top and the bottom. Just inspect it really quick and make sure that all the edges are cut evenly as best as you can before you want to glue it together, and then add sculpt. Once you figure it all out and you inspect it, you get some glue. I will also say, use gloves when you're dealing with crazy glue, and call your parents if you need them, because you shouldn't be using crazy glue if you're a kid, because it can be dangerous. It smells, the fumes from it, you don't want it in your eyes or anything. But anyway, try to get glue along the inside of the edges where you're going to sit the top of the head on. You don't want to put too much. It's just to hold it down in place, so when you add sculpt on it later on, it'll hold. So it's just to get a little bit on the bottom half, and then you do the same thing with the top half. You add a little bit of glue. The top half, you have a lot more room, so you can just do that whole line right there. Set your glue down responsibly. Don't let it drip to the side. And then carefully connect the top of the head to the bottom of the jaw, and make sure it lines up. And when you got it lined up, just press on it. Press on it as hard as you can. Make sure it lines up. Remember that's important. You don't want it to glue down and the jaw's uneven. So press down on it for a little bit. If you gotta blow, I know it sounds funny, but just give it some oxygen. Hold it down for a few seconds, maybe a minute or two, and then once it dries, you can add some sculpt. Alright, looks like it's drying up a little bit. It's still not as dry, but it's alright that I can handle it and it won't break apart. So yeah, you should let it dry for a few more minutes though, just to make sure. You will have to anyway when you mix the sculpt, so mixing the sculpt is going to require some time to settle anyway. So by the time your sculpt settles, your head should be alright to work with. Put your crazy glue away. Be responsible. Don't leave stuff out. Try to keep your tables clean. Same with the X-Acto knife. These things tend to roll off and want to stab your feet, so put them away. But that is what you'll need: sculpt, crazy glue, an X-Acto knife, and a scale, and some gloves, of course. Now, sculpt has two components, component A and B. I think this was B, and it smells like corn nuts. And this is A. It smells like nothing. But together, combined, they create a chemical reaction where the sculpt hardens. Let me read the directions to you. Wear disposable gloves. Check. Measure equal parts A and B. Always retrieve parts A and B with different tools. Mix and knead together for 2 minutes until thoroughly combined and the uniform color is achieved. Note, incomplete mixing will give poor results. Allow mixture product to settle for 5 minutes for better handling. Epoxy sculpt is ready to use. Working time is 1 to 3 hours. Shape as desired, smooth or textured with the wet finger, brush, Q-tip, or sculpting tool. Self-hardens within 24 hours, no baking required. Allow it 24 hours to cure rock hard, and that's pretty much it. You can clean up with soap and water. And the rest you can read if you want. But that's just pretty much it, and it's helpful to understand the idea of this. It also says if you're sanding it when it's dry, to wear a mask. You don't want to breathe in the particles, the dust particles. Alright, take notes. 30 minutes is when it's sticky and you get to stick it onto your surfaces, whatever you want to do. Within an hour, 2 hours, is you can start shaping it. It's easy to work with. And then within the 2 to 3 hour mark, you can start putting in your little details that you're going to finish up the project and just wrap it up. Try to reshape it as best as you can and then leave it alone, because in 24 hours, your sculpt will be ready. The head is already glued, pretty solid, so I can start adding some sculpt now. Sorry guys, I wasn't able to capture it on camera. I had to sculpt elsewhere, and so I just did it as fast as I could. Here I did the eyes, and I covered the side of the mouth. You see here I didn't cover on this side yet. Waited for it to cure this whole thing first. Did the left side, the eyes, and then did the right side. Moving on, I added some sculpt on the jaw and a little bit on the snout and a little bit on the cheeks, just to give him that smiling Joker look. Still noticing though, his head was a little flat up top, so I moved on and added some sculpt up top. It seems like Riot has a longer face, and so I wanted to give him a triangle face. Not as triangle, but because it's all rounded, but I wanted to give him that pointy face look. as much as I can working with the Monster Venom head without having to resculpt everything entirely. And you see that these heads are pretty much the same, so you can make different looks and expressions with the same monster Build-A-Figure Venom head if you really wanted to. And wait till you see what I do with this one. I'm going to modify this one. But anyway, painted the head black, wanted to make sure all the sculpt and grooves blended in. Thought about resculpting the teeth, but instead I painted them all white with black on the edges to separate the teeth. And then I painted over that with like a tannish yellow color, just to give them a more gritty look. And you see right now it's half and half. The left side is still white, the right side is yellow. So you tell me which one looks better. What do you think? Left side or the right side? Sculpted this tongue that you can take on and off if you want. It's not that big of a deal. But Riot is coming along, so stay tuned this week for the custom. You guys remember this head? I made a couple casts and I just took that and added some more sculpt. So I'm making an alternate head for Riot. Still have to add more sculpt, so this isn't the finished product. I'm gonna sand down those cheekbones a bit. They're a little big. Well guys, that's it. I hope this video helped out a little bit on understanding how to modify the monster Build-A-Figure Venom head. And if you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. Riot is coming. See you guys soon.
Choose to subscribe, you the man. Yes, you. Everyone below in the comments, yes, you too. Thank you very much for showing me love. Who knew? It's ironic how we think out the box for you too, right?
Sing, 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 sing. Everybody.